Hi, today I am going to read from Joey Pigza Swallowed the Key by Jack Gantos, Chapter 13. Chapter 13 is called Moon Man. My test was over within a few minutes after we arrived at the hospital. First, we got into an elevator and off at radiology. Mom went up to the woman at the desk and was given some papers to fill out while a nurse came for me. "When you finish up the paperwork," she said to Mom, "we'll be in room number 3. As soon as we walked into the examination room, I spotted the glass jar of Band-Aids. "Can I have one?" I asked. "Sure," she said, and opened the jar herself, then slipped just one into my top pocket. Before I could ask for another, she put the jar up on the top shelf. "Now, undress and put this on," she instructed, and gave me a thin white robe. "But my outfit's new," I said. "I just put it on after the bus ride." She smiled. "Don't worry, we'll keep an eye on it. And I want you to put this rubber mouthpiece between your teeth and bite down really hard. We'll need you to keep your jaw and teeth clenched so we can keep your head real still while we take the pictures." "But I got my new outfit for the picture," I said. "Oh, it's not that kind of picture," she said. "Okay," I answered, because this time I didn't want to do anything wrong. "I'll get everything ready," she said, and half stepped out the door. "Just remember, this won't hurt, and it won't take long. Lots of kids have done it. It's a breeze. The most important thing is to lie still." As soon as she was gone, I pushed a chair over to the stack of shelves, hopped up and opened the jar. I grabbed a handful of Band-Aids and stuffed them into my pocket. Then I hopped down, put the chair away, and changed into the robe. After that, everything happened so quickly I didn't even have time to make mistakes. The nurse took me into a bright room and helped lift me onto a table. She made me lie on my back, and all the time she kept squeezing my arms and legs and shoulders into place as if I were made out of silly putty until I was just the right shape. "Now, hold still and play like an Egyptian mummy," she said. "Don't even wiggle your eyes." I closed them and could hear her quickly walking away. A door closed on the other side of the room, and soon the machine that takes the pictures began to buzz. Then, slowly, it passed over me. And when it did, my brain tingled as if it were a honeycomb full of bees. I always liked bees and honey, and it made me feel better to think of bees than being some old dead mummy with a dried up walnut brain. Suddenly, the buzz stopped, and it was finished. A door opened, and I heard footsteps coming my way. "You can open your eyes now," the nurse said, "and wiggle your eyeballs." She reached into my mouth, pulled out the rubber mouthpiece, and put it in a small white bag. "Hop up! You were great. No twitching, no coughing, no sneezing. You're a real pro at being still." I grinned. "I must be getting better already," I said. "Yep," she replied. "Now come along." Mom was waiting for me in the exam room. "How'd it go?" she asked, and kissed me on the head. "I think my brain is filled with bees," I replied. She got a crooked smile on her face. "Don't make fun of your brain," she said. "It scares me." Because she was scared, then I got scared, and I wanted to get going. I quickly pulled my clothes back on, and we said thank you and goodbye to everyone. As we walked away, the nurse said the test results would be sent directly to the doctor. We didn't stop to talk about it. We got into the elevator, and when the doors closed, I felt much better. "I don't like hospitals," I said to Mom. "That's why they have gift shops," she said, and put one arm around me while her other one held her travel bag. "What can I buy?" I asked. "What?" "There are rules," she reminded me. "Just keep in mind my wallet is pretty skinny." We went into the gift shop, and I could feel my head buzzing again. They had the coolest stuff I had ever seen. It's like they saved the best toys in the world just for sick kids. There was a whole zoo of kid-sized stuffed animals. I pointed at the giraffe. "Don't even think about it," my mom said. "How about the big battery-powered car that I could drive?" "Nope." "The 5-pound can of peanut brittle?" "Nope." "What then?" "What?" "Be reasonable, Joey," she said. "Choose something that can fit in your pocket." "You're supposed to feel sorry for me," I said. "What I feel for you and what I can afford are two different things," she said. "Besides, you'll be fine." "Fine," I repeated, only in a different way, and stomped over to the revolving postcard rack. I'll just get a card, I said loudly, making a fuss, but I didn't care. I wanted something nice because there was still a chance my brain looked more like scrambled eggs than a honeycomb. A card is a very nice souvenir, she said, just like a mom, because the saleslady was watching us as if we were house burglars. I grabbed the wire postcard rack with one hand and spun it around as fast as I could, just as some old lady was about to pluck one out, and I almost chopped her finger off. She gave me a startled look like a hoot owl at the hoot owl at the Amish farm, then backed off toward a shelf of Beanie Babies. I kept spinning the rack faster and faster until it was a postcard tornado, and the cards were sailing out of their holders and skidding across the floor. "Joey!" Mom snapped, scolding me. "Joey, stop it!" I wouldn't, but she did. She grabbed my arm with one hand and the wire rack with the other, and it nearly toppled over, but it didn't. It just wobbled around in a circle like a drunk person. "Now help me pick these up," she ordered, bending over. I got down on my hands and knees like a dog and put them in my mouth. "Stop that," she said, getting mad and yanking them out of my mouth. "Nobody wants Joey slobber on their card." "I know what I want that will fit in my pocket," I said. "What?" "A chihuahua." "Can I get back to you on that?" she snapped. Then the saleslady stood over us. "May I help you?" she asked, as if she wanted to help us right out the door. "Do you sell chihuahuas?" Mom asked. "I'm afraid not," the lady replied with a really fake smile on her face, and then she began to tidy up the postcard rack. "Then we'll just have to take our business somewhere else," Mom said, getting snotty. She grabbed my arm and marched me across the lobby and out the door, and we kept marching until we weren't really sure where we were. After a few minutes, Mom set her bag down and looked over at a bank clock. "We've got some time to kill. Let's do some sightseeing." "Yeah," I said. "We could go to the igloo and see the penguins." "I don't think they let you see the hockey rink when they're not playing a game," she said. "Besides, I was thinking more about going up to the sky deck of the PPG building and seeing the whole city from one spot." "Do they have telescopes?" "I would think so," she said, but she wasn't sure, so I started hoping they did right away, because there was something more inside my mind buzzing around besides bees. I had an idea about what I wanted to find in Pittsburgh. When we arrived at the PPG building, we took the elevator up about 50 floors, and by then, Mom looked pale. "I think I'm going to be seasick," she said, as we stepped out and walked toward the line of telescopes by the big windows. She sat down and took a deep breath. "I need a quarter," I said, "for the telescope." She reached into her purse and gave me one. I stood up on a little metal stool and slipped it into the slot and looked through the eye hole. I aimed the telescope way up into the air, about as far away from Pittsburgh as you could get. "What are you looking for?" she asked. "The moon," I said. "You said Dad might be living up there." "Is this why you wanted to come up here, to look for him?" "Coming up here was your idea," I said, and aimed the telescope at her. "Smile," I said, but I couldn't tell if she was, because she was too close and everything was blurry. I lowered the telescope down to the street and watched people walk up and down the sidewalks. Any one of those guys could have been my dad. "Can we call him on the phone?" I asked. "Don't try and pull something over on me, Joey," she said. We're not here to look for him." "I'm just asking," I said. "I'd like to meet him." "I don't think so," she said. "I don't think you'd like him. Remember," I said, "before you returned, Grandma talked bad about you and said I wouldn't like you either. But then, when you came back, I began to like you. It could be the same with Dad. Maybe if I met him, I'd like him too." "Take my word for it," she said. "You won't." "Maybe not," I said, "but I won't know for sure until I meet him." I looked through the telescope again. "You better look into the bars," she said. "If you see some nervous little guy with a drunk red Pigza face, that'll be him." "Do people call him names too?" I asked. "Don't start feeling sorry for him," she said. "He just goes around asking for trouble." "Maybe he stopped drinking," I said. "Yeah, and birds stopped flying," she replied sarcastically. "There is nothing wrong with wanting to meet my own dad," I said. The meter on the telescope ran out, and everything went black. When I looked at her, she said, "I don't have another quarter." I stepped off the stool and started walking across the room toward the phone book at the payphone. I can look his name up, I said as she hopped up and followed. I know you'd like to meet your father, she said. I know it would be good for you to meet him. What troubles me is how he'll be. He could be drunk. He could be sober. He could be nice, or he could be mean as a snake. If I knew he had settled down, then we'd think about getting together. But until I know that for sure, I can't take a chance that he won't upset you more than love you. Do you understand that? I flipped through the phone book to the P section, then I turned the pages and went up and down the list of names with my finger. There was no Carter Pigza, and there was no Grandma Pigza. Well, she asked, are you satisfied? Not really, I said, because by then I wanted him to stop drinking and I wanted him to want me more. She looked at a line of clocks on the wall and seemed confused. There was one each for about a dozen countries. People in London were going to bed and people in Tokyo were getting up. We better catch our bus, she said. It's time for us to get home. The way she said home, it meant that it was our home, the one we had made for ourselves without Dad, and it never would be his home. If I was going to see him, I'd have to go to his home, wherever that was. And that's the end of chapter 13. Come back next time for chapter 14.